What up, bro? Oh, it's hot as hell today. Wow. So, welcome again to 365 Dao Daily Meditations by Deng Ming-Dao. We're on the third page, and it's titled Devotion. Again, I haven't looked at it or know what it's about. So, we're gonna read it together and see what we get. And please post in the comments if you'd like your own insights into what the authors are trying to say. No. Ooh, it is hot in here. Could open some windows or something. Okay. Page 3. Devotion. Make the crooked straight. Make the straight flow. Gather water, fire, and light. Bring the world to a single point. Okay. So that's the first poem at the very top. That's what it says over there. And that actually... Okay. There's a lot going on over there. Let's first analyze it and then go to what the author has to say. Okay. Make the crooked straight and make the straight flow. Okay. Yesterday I briefly mentioned nadis, right? And in the description of yesterday's video, I went into the process of how trauma, in the Buddhist view, trauma creates blockages in the body, right? And these blockages literally deform your nadis, nadis being pathways for chi to flow through, okay? So the process of cultivation, okay, when you're like deep breathing into the lower dantian, you'll notice like heat is generated. This is especially true like if you're lying down, doing the lying down packing posture, which I'll show you, and also when you're sitting up, so, and this heat that's created is, after a while, it tends to grow. All right, and at later stages of cultivation, it becomes like an all-encompassing sort of thing. This heat melts blockages, okay, or stagnant energy, whatever you want to call that phenomenon of chi having the inability to flow through somewhere. Okay, so after the heat melts the blockages, then energy is able to flow through. Okay, and what, according to Buddhist literature and others, I think, that process of clearing the blockage literally makes the nadi straighter. Okay, it's like it's similar in a way to if you had like a cardiovascular blockage somewhere, like a fat on the inside of the blood vessel. It's not now, of course, blood vessels are not straight at all, but essentially the blood, instead of having an optimum like channel to flow through, it has to like bend in certain places and things like that. It causes a lot of problems. I'm not a doctor, clearly, right? So cultivation is the process of, when they say make the crooked straight, that's kind of what they're referring to, I believe. And make the straight flow. What needs to flow? Chi. Okay, the goal is to make chi flow through your entire body at any moment, as easily as it would anything else. All right. Okay. Gather water, fire, and light. Water, fire, light, those three things have very specific meaning in Taoism. Okay. Now, um, I don't want you to necessarily think of it like yin and yang. Okay, although that's obviously what they're referring to. Okay. But um entire sections of our bodies are given the sort of like water designation or fire designation, as in the chi taking a certain form in a certain location in your body. That's its optimal state versus another. Light has also light is referring to the light of consciousness. Okay. And specifically when cultivating the immortal fetus, if you like look at if you've like been into Taoist alchemy, especially like the Alchemy and Immortality book, when the immortal fetus first appears, it appears as a light in Agya chakra, okay, in your third eye. All right. But that's not the only kind of light that's referred to. Anytime I've ever seen light being mentioned in the Taoist context, it always has something to do with the mind, either the small mind or the universal one. Okay. It's about consciousness. All right. So now, as I mentioned in the first video, the author went to great lengths to extract what was relevant and pertinent in the ancient text and bring it to a modern audience. So, while doing that, even though he did his best to make it as relevant and as accessible as he possibly could, he still removed a lot of some of the deeper meanings, which we'll get into that as the year progresses. All right. So, some of the things, like he specifically mentions this in the introduction. Okay, he removes things like yin and yang, wu wei, jing, qi, shen. All, but we will cover those terms because we can handle it. All right. Yeah, and he specifically says on page 10 X in the introduction, in order to avoid any hint of esoteric wording, Taoism, Taoist, and numerous other Chinese terms are not used at all. Okay. All right. So, um, that's what I believe the first poem was essentially talking about. So basically, the first two lines, cultivate. Okay. The third line, gather water, fire, and light. Okay, this is what embryonic breathing is all about. This is what shikintaza is. It's gathering chi in the lower dantian. Right. Bring the world to a single point. Oh, I love that. Okay, that's the single pointed concentration. That is exactly what meditation is all about. Okay. Um, when you're caught, and I love to talk about this clearly, as you can tell. The whole point of meditation is to let everything else fall away except for the object of your attention, okay, or objects. All right. Concentration doesn't have to be a tiny, like, small thing. Okay, you could be concentrating on a situation or an entire landscape, all right, every facet of it and everything. Or you could be concentrating on the head of a pin, all right. In Vajrayana, of course, meditation is really seen as a somatic exercise, so you're always concentrating on some aspect of your body, all right. But it doesn't have to be a single pointed thing. But whatever it is you're putting your awareness on, that should be the only thing that exists for you when you reach the higher levels of meditation. Okay. everything else just sort of disappears. Not just they become irrelevant, it's like they don't exist, they're not in your awareness. All right, even at a subconscious level, they just sort of melt away. All right, when you reach that stage, that is what meditation is. Something just flew in. All right, I hope that makes sense. All right, so let's continue with the author's notes. All right, if you have devotion, total faith, and commitment to our spiritual path, our determination will naturally build momentum. Yes, exactly like what I've told you about the law of attraction. Okay, um, yeah, if you want something to sort of appear, it does take some time to gain momentum, right? Fewer and fewer obstructions will come before us because fewer and fewer obstructions are able to stop the momentum. All right, just keep going. Our path becomes like a crooked one makes straight. No matter what tries to keep us from our purpose, we will not be deterred. Okay, I like that interpretation. It has a broader, um, it has broader implications on the spiritual path, not necessarily the mechanics of cultivation. And I like this interpretation. Okay. Okay. Our path, the Tao. All right. Proper devotion lies not simply in a headlong course. It also requires fortitude. Okay. Our bodies, our hearts, and our spirits must be totally concentrated upon what we want. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, people believe that there's this moment, and I used to be like this, where you just suddenly have complete devotion and you'll be completely committed to your spiritual practice or whatever you're doing. Okay. In my experience, that moment really never comes. What happens is, after a series of trials and errors, you gradually become more and more enthralled by what you're doing. Okay. Instead of sort of like becoming depressed every time you fall down or you sort of just lose faith, um, what happens is, despite your own unique flaws, quote unquote, you still manage to build steam. And when you really love something, okay, your flaws sort of act as a way to magnify aspects of that thing that other people, number one, can't see, and number two, that lead you to deeper levels of understanding that thing. Okay, so don't be sad if like did like you could ask my own teacher, or like just other people who know me in the meditation sense, right? um it's been a long fucking road. Yeah, and it's still going. Yeah, so don't expect that you'll reach that stage of total commitment off the bat. It takes time. All right, time to build up to that level. Okay. Only by uniting all our inner elements can we have full devotion. I wonder what he means by that. Inner elements. Our bodies, our hearts, and our spirits. You keep that number 3 in mind. It's very important in Taoism. Okay. Um, if we see our path clearly and our personalities are completely unified, then there's no distinction between the outer world and the inner world. This is exactly what manifestation is all about. All the great teachers who have been very successful at manifesting all say the same thing. When your inner vision, your inner reality matches the outer one changes instantly. Or I should put it this way: if your devotion is strong enough and your conviction is not, I'm not talking about faith necessarily, I'm talking about your experience uh, in your inner world is when your experience of the inner world is all encompassing and complete. This is what I meant to say. Okay, the outer reality changes to match what is going on inside you. Okay, this can be a very quick thing if you're not if you're only manifesting like a small thing. All right, but for big things, let's say like love or like money, whatever, um there are obstacles you have to sort of, self-created obstacles you have to be able to overcome. All right, you have to be able to experience in yourself before your outer reality changes. Okay, but when you are able to experience the inner reality completely, all right, and with no care about what's actually going on outside, because you know, hey, this is what life is actually like. All right, then the outer reality changes, and I've experienced this myself when I'm manifesting stuff. You also need to learn how to let go and stuff like that. I should make an entire series on that. I think I will after I finish this. All right, I hope I was clear on that. And that is a very important line. Let me read it again. If we see our path clearly and our personalities are completely unified, then there is no distinction between the outer world and the inner world. Awesome. Nothing is far away anymore. Nothing is not open to us. That is why it is said that the world is like a single point. So strong is devotion that there is nothing that is not a part of it. Okay. So strong is devotion that there is nothing that is not a part of it. And devotion is what today is all about. I was watching a video yesterday about a nun who I just admired her so much because her devotion to her cultivation practice not just extended her own life by a lot. I think she lived to like 118. Okay, but her devotion carried her through like the periods where religion was suppressed in her country, through like great famines, all right, through real hardships, things that I've never experienced and I'm thankful not to have experienced. All right, and she never had a family either. I forget the name, please pardon me. um I will link to it though. um she was just an admirable figure, you know. That's the level I would aspire to. uh but I know realistically very few people are actually built to be able to like practice at such a level. All right, but I would like my devotion to cultivation to go in that direction eventually. So today, I think I'll contemplate more on what the author wrote about. There's a few things like matching the inner and outer worlds that I'm not completely, as you might have guessed, I'm not completely like clear on exactly like the specific mechanics behind it. I know the general process, but the mechanics are always like hard for me sometimes to grasp just because of my own ignorance. So I would like just to, today in meditation, I would like to stay firm no matter what phenomena arise, within reason, if there's something biting or something poking me severely, I probably will move. But for everything else, all of the thoughts that come up, the useless ones, I'll just try to ignore them as much as possible and concentrate on the task at hand. It's a full moon, so yay. Okay. Hope you have a nice day.